Now to the latest on the pandemic as the Delta variant causes surges around the country now. One state that's been hit particularly hard is Louisiana, which has the country's highest rate of new COVID cases per capita. One Louisiana Republican, House Minority Whip Steve Scalise, is now urging others in his state to get vaccinated. He joins us live. Congressman, good to see you.
Kira, good to be with you.
Well, as we mentioned, now COVID hospitalizations in your state has risen to the highest levels in just 5 months. The vaccine was first made available to you 7 months ago on the Hill. Do you think it was a mistake to wait so long to get your shots?
Well, I had antibodies back months ago. I had taken that test and had antibodies for COVID. But ultimately, with the Delta variant, I saw the spike in hospitals, and primarily it was over 98% of people in the hospitals with COVID were unvaccinated. And that's when I decided to get the full vaccination. So I got the Pfizer vaccine. I'm glad I did it. It's very safe and effective.
Well, and now 37%, only 37% of your state is fully vaccinated. And we're seeing people getting vaccinated now and knowing that it saves lives. So what's your messages to your constituents now?
I would strongly encourage people to get the vaccine. It's safe, it's effective, it's available for anybody who wants it. But look, this is a medical decision. And I do think if there are people that have hesitation, which clearly there are, they should be talking to their doctor about it. We shouldn't be shaming people and trying to look down on people. We should be getting them the facts, but also encouraging them if they do have hesitation, now's the time to go talk to your doctor about this, because I believe it's the right thing to do. But at the same time, this has got to be a personal decision. And if you have hesitation, go talk to your doctor about it.
The school year is starting, and a lot of children, most children ineligible for the vaccine. What are you telling families and teachers and kids now that we know so much about being vaccinated, about the number of hospitalizations on the rise, the COVID cases on the rise, and as you point out, we need to get our kids back in school. So what are you encouraging families and teachers and kids to do?
Everybody should still take precautions, and washing hands, socially distancing still works. Look at last year. There was no vaccine a year ago, and yet about half of kids in America were in the classroom. And the science shows that they were much better protected from COVID than kids who weren't in the classroom, because they weren't having that same kind of controlled environment. And yet they were learning more, too, when they were in the classroom. That evidence is very clear. Not only the depression that we saw kids that weren't in the classroom having, but the learning went down too. And so let's encourage the schools to reopen. And again, without a vaccine, schools reopened was the right answer last year. It's the right answer this year too.
And now Republican governors in Florida and Texas, Congressman, have banned one of the most basic public health measures, mandating masks from schools. Some school administrators are revolting. They're being threatened with defunding or losing salaries. Should school districts be allowed to decide for themselves what tools they can use to keep students safe?
Ultimately, those are conversations that need to be had at the school board level. And I'm encouraged that you're seeing so many parents showing up at school board meetings now. When you had a lot of these schools following the union advice and just shutting down, even though the science said the schools should be open, I think you saw a growing number of parents get involved in their school board meetings. And in fact, many of them started running for school board. And that's government at its most basic local level. So I would encourage people to stay involved at the local level, having those conversations where they should be had, not at the federal level. Mandates shouldn't be coming out of Washington. Let people in the local communities make the decisions that are best for themselves and open up the schools.
All right, let's talk about the vaccine mandate in the military that's going to be required of service members by next month, possibly sooner. Do you support that move?
Again, I leave it to the generals to determine what's best to run the military. I don't want to see the federal government making those kind of mandates, and I don't want to see the federal government trying to shame people. Let's get the facts out. Let's encourage people to make their decisions on their own and work with their doctors if they have questions.
politician or not, you are a leader. People listen to you. People vote for you. You've got personal experience. You've had COVID. So what are you going to do? What can you do? What are you encouraging your colleagues to do to save lives? Bottom line, get our kids back in school and save lives.
Yeah, I've been very vocal about getting the facts out and encouraging people that the vaccine is safe and effective. I've done a lot of research into how they came up with these vaccines. The FDA process was very rigorous. Thousands of people were tested. Over a year ago, they started this process. Operation Warp Speed, which was started by President Trump, was very effective at making sure that the tools were there to encourage vaccines to be made in a rapid time. They didn't cut corners. And I do think there might be some people that wonder, because it came out so quick, this was record-breaking, revolutionary to get drugs out. It wasn't because they cut corners. It was because extra laser focus was put on getting the process moved. Red tape was eliminated so that you could get people tested. And ultimately, the test proved successful and the vaccine's effective. And if you wonder about whether or not the vaccine's effective, go talk to your local hospitals. All of our local hospitals are seeing an uptick, not in vaccinated people, but in unvaccinated people. Again, in the New Orleans community, about 98% of the people in the hospital for COVID are unvaccinated. That should tell you right there that the vaccine works. It might not stop you from getting COVID, but if you get it, you're not going to get so sick that you end up in the hospital more than likely if you have the vaccine. And those are the facts that are available for people. I would encourage everybody to do their own research, but ultimately talk to their doctor if they still have hesitation.
And unfortunately, we have witnessed people losing their lives because it's too late and they can't get vaccinated. They got to the point where it won't help them at any point, unfortunately. And that's a story that we're continuing to cover now. Look, while we have you here, Congressman, I'd like to ask you about today's infrastructure vote. Will any Republicans support this bipartisan deal in the House? And specifically, will you?
Well, I don't support this bill because it's less about infrastructure and more about taxes and spending. And Speaker Pelosi made that very clear when she linked the two bills together. And even President Biden backed her up and said that the two bills will ultimately be linked together. And when we talk about the two bills, infrastructure is one small piece. There is a whole lot of spending that has nothing to do with infrastructure. And there are going to be tax increases that are going to hurt jobs. It's going to hurt middle-class families, and it's going to lead to higher inflation. We're already seeing too much inflation because of Washington's out-of-control spending. You add $4.5 trillion on top of it. It's only going to lead to higher costs for things that we all buy when we go to the grocery store, when you go buy gas at the pump. All of that is going to hurt hardworking families in America. So, no, I don't support that.
Congressman Steve Scalise, appreciate your time today.
Kira, great being with you. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.